Jesus Bazan, Antonio Longoria, Martina Rivas, Longino Flores. These are some of the names of Texas Mexicans who had their lives unjustly taken by state authorities during a period of intense violence along the U.S.-Mexico border in the second decade of the 20th century. The exhibit Life and Death on the Border, 1910 through 1920, retells their story, one that has been largely forgotten by the public, despite the tremendous social upheaval that caused an international crisis and shaped the region for many years to come. In 1916, U.S. President Woodrow Wilson sent 110,000 troops to South Texas to quell violence between Los Sediciosos, Texas Mexican ranchers who were fighting to defend a quickly disappearing way of life, and the Texas Rangers, the state's enforcers of a new order. This unequal struggle began a decade earlier with the completion of a railroad line into the lower Rio Grande Valley, bringing widespread economic, political, and social changes. Charged with restoring the peace, which to them meant ensuring Anglo dominance, local law enforcement and the Texas Rangers executed hundreds of Texas Mexicans in 1915, simply on the suspicion of aiding the uprising. After hundreds of deaths, the massive troop surge brought peace, but at the cost of militarizing the border. The violence against Texas Mexicans still lingered. Newspapers and recruiting posters alike compared South Texas to the ongoing First World War's battlefronts. Hundreds, if not thousands, of Texas Mexicans fled to Mexico to escape La Matanza, or the massacre, even as tens of thousands of Mexicans migrated al norte as war refugees from the Mexican Revolution. Widespread killings by law enforcement did not abate until the Texas legislature's investigation of the Ranger Force in 1919. Initiated by J.T. Canales, the only Texas Mexican state representative, the investigation found that the Rangers had committed numerous atrocities against Texas Mexicans during the previous decade. While no Ranger was ever held accountable, the investigation was the first time that Texas Mexicans had been able to force the state to police its own actions. Using the state as a primary site of engagement for the preservation of Mexican-American civil rights became the hallmark strategy of groups such as the League of United Latin American Citizens, which formed in the late 1920s as a direct response to the new Juan Crow order established throughout Texas. Life and Death on the Border restores this history to public consciousness at the Bob Bullock Texas State History Museum, the premier venue for public history in the state. These events, along with countless others like them throughout U.S. history, powerfully remind us of what happens when state authorities ignore the human rights of any group. By returning La Matanza to public awareness, we refuse to forget our collective responsibility to uphold democratic processes and to pursue restorative justice whenever necessary.